Good day, good people. How are you doing? It's Makeda Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist. I hope you all are doing well today. In case you're unfamiliar with me, I have a background in exercise and sports science and nutrition science. And I have a holistic approach to the health to the body, to health, to fitness, to nutrition. What was I going to say? I'm doing this on my IG Live, and I will then download it and repost it to my YouTube page. So if you're on IG and you don't follow me on YouTube, be sure to follow me at the Body Scientist 81. And if you're on YouTube, you don't follow me on IG, be sure to follow me on IG because I don't always post the same things, okay? So be sure to follow me on both places. So for those of you who are familiar with me, you know that, I'm really not with, the pharmaceutical drugs and stuff. I'm not with, traditional Western medicine. If God forbid you get into an accident and you need to have surgery or, it's great for that. But when it comes to true healing and health, I'm definitely not about it. And all pharmaceuticals come from natural compounds, natural plants and herbs. And, I'm very much into traditional methods and traditional ways of being healthy. And so today I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk a bit about caring for our aging family, caring for people who are aging, and also the many uses of cannabis oil, okay? I'm a huge believer in cannabis medicine, and it's very interesting because, my dad just turned 80 years old, and ever since I was a little girl, he was smoking weed with his friends, okay? All these black intellectuals, black radicals, people who were involved in the civil rights movement, artists, great minds, okay? And they'd always be sitting around smoking weed and having these intellectual conversations. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary by Fab Five Freddy called, I know the name of the damn documentary. Why am I forgetting it? Grass is Greener, okay? If you haven't seen this documentary called Grass is Greener on Netflix by Fab Five Freddy, you must watch it. It's a very good angle on cannabis that nobody has done. But in that video, he talks about how he would be around his dad. He grew up around his dad and his dad's super intellectual friends smoking weed and having these intellectual conversations. That's how I grew up too, right? My uncle, Mike Thelwell, who wrote the autobiography of Stokely Carmichael, he went to Howard with Stokely Carmichael, and a.k.a. Kwame Ture. My uncle is in his 80s now. Him, my dad, they were always smoking, okay? And they're so smart, okay? And so come to find out, THC is actually neuroprotective, okay? THC helps you to regenerate brain cells, okay? It is the only thing that helps with neurogenesis, okay? Which is creating more brain cells, and it protects your brain cells, okay? So, I'm always saying when it comes to health, most of the things that we're told, the opposite is true. Like, people think that cholesterol and saturated fat is bad for your heart. That's not true. It's actually really important for your heart. And you need as much saturated fat and cholesterol as you can get. Dermatologists will tell you stay out of the sun and wear sunscreen. No, you need to be in the sun as much as possible, especially when you have melanin and you don't want to use sunscreen no matter what your complexion is. Okay, I have videos where I talk about that. So a lot of the things that we're told about health, the opposite is true. And of course, that's so they can sell their pharmaceuticals, all right? Now, I have videos where I talk about, cannabis medicine and this cannabis oil that I've been using for the past few years, and many of my clients have used for many different things. I won't tell all the stories because they're in those videos that you can go back and look at. Some of you probably heard these stories already. But it's, I work with people with a wide variety of backgrounds, a wide variety of physical challenges, whether it be physiological or physical. And lately, okay, like probably a couple weeks ago, my dad, like I said, he just turned 80. A female friend of his who probably is like a few years younger than her. I don't know how old she is. I think she's in her 70s. And she was in so much pain because she injured her back somehow. And she could not stand up. She couldn't move, and she was in excruciating pain. And I remember that I left I leave this THC oil at my parents' house, and I carry it. I travel with it everywhere because it's first aid. It's good for so many things. This oil right here, right? This THC, This is cannabis infused coconut oil, okay? A friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who I've known since 2009, he is Jamaican by way of Chicago, but goes back and forth between Chicago and Detroit. Him and another black grower, they grow the cannabis without any type of chemicals, and they infuse it into the coconut oil, okay? They also make tinctures and other things, and I'll talk about the tinctures in another video. But, you know, this is a very good product in this very small batch, okay? So this is the THC oil. He also started making a CBD oil, which is what most people hear about, right? You have the CBD oil, but the true medicine, I feel like, is the THC oil. You can combine the two and use them both, right? But THC has even more beneficial pain relieving properties, okay? And so anyhow, my dad's friend, you know, I keep the THC oil in my parents' house just in case, because my mom, it was maybe last year, it was the holidays, she was cooking, and she went to grab a skillet out of the oven and didn't use the pot holder, and she burned her hand. Put the oil in her hand, it immediately took the burn away, immediately, okay? If you put your hand in the cold water, it doesn't take the burn away like that. Like, it might feel okay for a second, and you take your hand out of the cold water, and your hand is still burning. The oil took the burn away immediately. When I saw that happen, I also used it on myself when I burned myself, and it took it away immediately, right? It's a very potent anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antimicrobial, right? But when it comes to back pain, I have a video where I talk about, I was in a car accident last year, April of 2021. And I talk about how I couldn't move. I couldn't even pick up a skillet, okay, to cook. I couldn't even pick up the skillet. That's how much my back was messed up and how much it hurt. I couldn't drive. I couldn't turn. I couldn't get in and out of a car, okay? Like, I looked fine, but my back was so jacked up. And if I just moved a little bit, I would have sharp pains that almost bring me to my knees. First, you know, I had somebody rub it on my back because my back muscle was spazzing so much. It was so swollen and knotted up that if you looked at my back, one side of it had such knotted up muscles. And so a friend of mine massaged it on, and that took away so much of the inflammation, and it helped so much. But in terms of the internal pain, I had to ingest it. I put a teaspoon of the oil in my tea, and that is what really started to help me heal. Not only did it relieve the pain, but it helped me heal. So now, you would never think anything ever happened to my back, and it's been better for a long time. A lot of people get into bad car accidents, and their back is messed up for the rest of their life, right? The cannabis oil, it actually helps you heal. So when you take pharmaceuticals, I do not take, in my house, I do not have Tylenol, I do not have ibuprofen, I don't have any of that, okay? And when you take these drugs, when you take opioids, when you take, first of all, opioids are very addictive, but so is Advil and ibuprofen, okay? I was addicted to Advil in the 7th grade because I used to have really bad headaches and migraines, and every time I had a headache, well, I don't know if I had migraines, but I had very bad headaches. And every time I had a headache back then, I would take Advil, okay? And I don't know if it was my brother or somebody noticed, so when I went to the doctor, they told me, I didn't know I was addicted to Advil, okay? And what he said was, there's something called the rebound effect, that if you take medicine for your headache, right, you take some Advil, NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, okay? If you take them for a headache, just a couple times, what happens is, if you don't keep taking it, you'll get a headache, okay? Because that's true addiction. Yes, you can ingest THC oil while breastfeeding. I'm glad you asked that question. Okay? Because there's a lot to say about cannabis use during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Actually, let me just tell you about this. This is a book written by a Nigerian pharmacist, okay? She's on Instagram. Brilliant woman, Dr. O, okay? A Pharmacist's Guide to Cannabis, okay? Perspective of a nonconformist clinician. She's a pharmacist. Pharmacists are the experts on drugs, okay? And her name is Dr. Lola Ohamba, okay? I call her Dr. O. I love her, okay? And in this book, when she starts off, and it's a very easy to read, to the point kind of book, right? So when she starts, one of the things that she puts, facts you should know about cannabis, right? Facts you should know about cannabis. The first thing she writes, pregnant women of the Rastafarian descendants of Jamaica were said to have used cannabis to control pregnancy-induced nausea and vomiting and pain due to childbirth. Number 2, she writes, as a mother, I've had to use an epidural during delivery. Trust me, it's not fun even with the so-called epidural. Number 3, You can get the book on Amazon. Number 3, she writes, have you ever wondered how the women of old were able to go through labor without the convenience of modern medicine? Well, now you know. And she says, there's many different things, but I have studied and listened to a lot of women who've used cannabis during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Because the thing is that they will tell you that to take Advil or Tylenol in a second if you're pregnant, right? Or if you're breastfeeding. But that's the true toxic shit. Or you're getting an epidural and they're giving opioids and stuff like that. But then they'll tell you not to use cannabis, right? So there are people who specialize in cannabis use during pregnancy. If you in breastfeeding, if you message me, I will send you, because a lot of them are on Instagram. I'll send you their pages and you can see. There are people, so I won't get super into that, but yes, you can, okay? Yeah, even with the epidural, it's very uncomfortable, yeah. So, I'll do another video about cannabis use in pregnancy and breastfeeding, but it is okay. And if somebody really didn't feel comfortable with the THC, then you can use the CBD. But one thing that I will tell you with the THC oil, like a lot of times clinicians usually who know nothing about, who don't use cannabis, and because THC is a psychoactive compound, they'll say to you, a lot of times they'll recommend CBD because they'll say, oh, if you use THC oil, then you can't drive and operate machinery because you're going to get high. But honestly, unless things affect people differently, but maybe unless you're like super sensitive, because I was going to say the THC oil does not make me high, but I do smoke weed, so maybe that's why. But even with people that I've had use the THC oil, nobody has reported to me that it made them high. I have a client who went through chemo, okay? She had cancer. She had issues from chemo. She started using the THC oil. She bought bottles of it and stopped taking all her meds, okay? And she never told me that she was high and couldn't function. I've known people who've used it for arthritis. I mean, there's so many things. And my friend who makes it, I wish I could have him on to speak, but the thing is that he's an engineer, very brilliant black man. Like I said, he's from Jamaica by way of Chicago. But, he does things with kids and other stuff. So he kind of keeps his face out of it. I'm kind of like the spokesperson for him. But he's a very smart man. And I've learned a lot from him about how to use not just the cannabis oil, but also the tinctures and the RSO, which is Rick Simpson oil, like the wax and stuff like that, for medicinal purposes. I've learned so much from him, and then I've sat and listened to people who are pharmacists, who are nurses, who are doctors, who specialize in cannabis medicine, and they're very scientific, and I feel like I've learned more from him, okay? So yeah. So just going back to the story, the THC, I have this THC oil I sell, okay? You can get this from me if you want. This is an ounce bottle. It's 115 for 1 ounce and 200 for 2 ounces. But if you're watching this video, and I'll give you a discount, I'll give $25 discount. Shipping is $5. So if you want to order it, this ounce bottle, which is 115, will be $90, and 2 ounces, $170. Okay, I'll make it that. You can just message me and let me know. Sometimes I have sales in the oil as well. And people who really need it, like for me, it's not all about the money. It's like people who really, really need it. Like some people can't afford that. Even $90 might be too much for some people, especially elderly people who don't have money coming in. And, so sometimes I would discount it more, or let them pay me in payments. Okay. Because the thing I was going to tell you about with my dad's friend is that, she couldn't move. Okay. She was in so much pain. And I left this bottle. I leave a bottle of this in the house, in my parents' house, just in case anything. Right. And so I forgot that it was there because I live in Chicago now. My parents are in New York, and I was supposed to be coming to New York in a couple of days. I'm like, I'll bring it for you. But she was in so much pain. And I remembered that I left a bottle in the house. So my mom gave it to her, and it's the only thing that has helped her. She has told me it is the only thing that has relieved my pain. Like whatever medication the doctors gave her wasn't helping her. It's poisonous anyway. She couldn't walk. Like when I first saw her, she was like all hunched over with a walker. And then, a couple days later, the day that my dad had his birthday performance, which she directed, she was able to walk without the walker, and she's getting better. Now, the way that she used it for her back, she's been ingesting it in her tea. Like, she might put a teaspoon or two in her tea and drink it, maybe once or twice a day. You use it as needed. Also, you can put it in a bathtub, okay? You can take a tablespoon of it and put it in a hot bath and soak in it if you're using it for the back things. But when you have deep issues, like deep internal issues, nerve issues, stuff like that, you want to ingest it. If you use it topically, it will not get, the THC will not get into your system. So if you're somebody who has to take drug tests and you cannot have THC in your system, if you put it on your skin topically, it won't get into you. But if you ingest it, it will. So if you're somebody who's concerned about drug tests, then you wouldn't want to use the THC oil. The CBD oil may be better, but the THC oil is more powerful. Like, you need less of it to help relieve pain. You can also use them together, okay? The CBD oil, also the same price, okay? So you can use them together. For me, I use the CBD oil for my headaches, okay? When I have headaches, I use the CBD oil. And when I look at the science about, like, and I'm about to tell you a little bit about it, about where these receptors are and stuff like that, like, I don't know. I just know that when I have headaches, I use CBD oil and it helps. Okay, I put it in some warm tea, and that's what helps relieve my headaches. Now, I have a video called, okay, wait, before I get into that, another thing. So, I'm not going to mention his name, but there is a very important black man, Afro-Latino, who, I will tell you his name later after I get his testimonial. But he's a black activist, community organizer, somebody who's very well known, okay? Older man, my dad's friend, okay? And, you know, later on when I tell the story, once I heal him, then I will tell you who he is. And, but he's in his 70s as well. And I went to a play that he did in New York a couple days ago. And he looked great. I'm looking at him thinking how great he looks for his age. But just now, I hear him talking to my dad, and he's telling my dad that he has spinal stenosis and he's in so much pain that he could barely, like, he almost fell over the other day at the play because he was in so much pain. I couldn't tell that by looking at him. And I always tell people that doing what I do, there's a lot of people who look great, okay? Like, you can't just go off of looks. There's a lot of people who look like Olympic athletes, but they might be in chronic pain every single day of their life, and you can't tell it by looking at them, right? So that's why I know from being a high-level trainer, because I'm not like some bullshit LA Fitness gym trainer, okay? I'm a high-level trainer. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. And as that and nutritionist, I know that you have to evaluate people, and you can't just tell by how they look. I mean, looks do tell you stuff, but it's not everything. So he's in all this pain, and it's funny because he's going to be coming to Chicago this weekend for an important event. There's a huge connection between New York and Chicago, okay? Even when it comes to activism, you know, and black shit, right? So he's going to be coming to Chicago this weekend. He's like, I want to work with you, but he's in all this pain. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm about to go back to Chicago. I have this oil. Let me get it to him. Because if he's in so much pain, he's going to travel like this, you know, I can help him now with this, right? When I'm done with this live, I'm going to go over to El Barrio, Spanish Harlem, to go bring this to him before I head back to Chicago. Because I know that the type of pain that he's in, he wants me to give him some exercises and stuff like that, and I can help him with that. But if you're in so much pain, okay, doing the exercises is going to be hard. You can't do anything when you're in excruciating pain. So the oil will help to take away a lot of the inflammation and the pain, so then he can then do other things, right, to help the back heal. When you're doing holistic stuff, you're attacking it from different angles. Like, it's not just the oil, you know, like the oil plays a huge role with helping the back to heal, but you also want to do exercises to help to support the spine. Then there's a diet, you know what I'm saying? There's certain fats that you consume that are anti-inflammatory as well. So when I work with people, I'm looking at all of those things, right? But I remember, and then my dad's sister, who she's in her 80s, like, she had really bad arthritis. I sent her some oil to rub on her arthritic joints. It helped her. You know, it's very magical. My dad is telling his friend, Makeda's just healing people. And it's funny because, you know, I'm really not, and the first thing my dad's friend told me was that he doesn't trust Western medicine and these doctors and stuff like that. Now, again, I said, The doctors are good if you get into a horrible accident, okay? A horrible car accident, God forbid, you fall out of a window, something like that. Emergency medicine, yes. But when it comes to health and healing and longevity, no. All right? So, now, in this book, now this book, again, is a good book if you just want to understand the basics of cannabis medicine, okay? It's not a long book, you see? It's just a few pages, and it's right to the point. And Dr. O, I came across her on Clubhouse. She's so smart, okay? If anybody thinks I'm smart, I know my stuff when it comes to nutrition. She knows her stuff when it comes to drugs and medications, okay? And she's very brilliant. And so here it says, okay, so first, before I explain this, I'm going to tell you that we have something called an endocannabinoid system, all right? And cannabis and cannabinoids is very similar to vitamin D. We have like vitamin D receptors on every part of our body. Like vitamin D deficiencies are responsible for like damn near every problem that people have, okay? And most people are very vitamin D deficient. There's vitamin D receptors on like every cell of our body, and vitamin D is a master modulator. It's really a hormone, and it controls and modulates so many things in the body. Same thing is true with cannabinoids. In the endocannabinoid system, we have receptors for cannabinoids on every place in our body, right? And there's different cannabinoids, and they modulate and control a lot of things. So what cannabis does, what these cannabinoids do, is help the body maintain homeostasis, okay? Reach homeostasis, maintain homeostasis, and function at its best ability. And it's not addictive, okay? Cannabis is not addictive. Caffeine is addictive, okay? I drink caffeine every single day. I do not consume coffee. I consume it in the form of tea, but I need to have caffeine every day, okay? If I don't have caffeine every day, if I even get to like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I haven't had caffeine, I'm going to start to get a headache. I'm not going to feel good. That's because it's addictive, okay? Weed is not like that. Like, I smoke weed like every day, but lately I haven't been smoking. Like, I've been going a few days without smoking, which is like unheard of for me. I'm not like, oh my God, I'm getting withdrawal symptoms, and I'm fine, because weed is not addictive. I smoke weed every day because I feel like it, because it makes me feel balanced and calm. But I don't need it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to start getting headaches and start getting the shivers because I'm not consuming cannabis, right? So cannabis is not addictive. Let that be clear, all right? So, the other thing that the CBD is good for is for people who are, the CBD and THC can be used interchangeably. I think the THC is more powerful, right? For pain relief and stimulation, because I have a video where I talk about cannabis orgasms. A woman putting THC oil on her vulva and her clit helps her to be way more sensitive, have way more intense orgasms. There's a lot of people who sell CBD suppositories and salves for that same purpose for women sexually, and they say it works, but the THC is even more potent. So, but I'm saying that to say that people use CBD oil for the same things that they use THC oil for, but the CBD stuff is not as powerful. But there are a few instances where CBD is better to use. There's a few instances. And one of those instances is, and actually they actually work well together too, okay? THC and CBD can work well together, so you can combine them. But one of the incidences where CBD oil works the best is if somebody's addicted to opioids. If somebody is addicted to opioids, okay, or any kind of substance, CBD oils and tinctures and stuff can help reverse that, all right? So in those cases, you want to use CBD and not THC. And I won't get into the science behind that now, because that's a whole nother discussion. I'll do a video about that, but just know that, okay? So now there's Cb1 and Cb2 receptors, okay? So for these cannabinoids, the endocannabinoid system means that our own body produces its own cannabinoids. So THC and CBD and THCA, which is an acid of cannabis, like you get the THCA if you make a tea out of cannabis, and it doesn't make you high. Like, in order for it to have some effect of making you high, it has to be burned and combusted, right? So THCA is a THC acid, which also has health benefits. So there's CBN, there's a bunch of different ones, right? And then there's and our body makes these endocannabinoids, like anandamide, from arachidonic acid, okay? And arachidonic acid is a fat that's only found in animals, okay? It's also really good for our skin. If you look at my videos where I talk about my skin products, and that's a whole nother conversation because everybody raves about my skin moisturizer. And the skin moisturizing mixtures I make, nobody mixes the fats that I mix. It's very unique. But arachidonic acid, I always put animal fats in my skin mixtures because arachidonic acid helps to keep your skin supple and protect the skin and keep the cell walls, the tight junctions, the cell-to-cell junctions, tight and strong. But arachidonic acid is also the backbone for our endocannabinoids. So the cannabinoids that our body makes are made from arachidonic acid. Okay, so there's many reasons why animal fats is important. Okay, you will never see me talk about veganism, right? Even with the cannabis infused coconut oil, it's also very good to infuse butter or ghee with cannabis as well. Okay, I'll make a video about the two. But the coconut oil is good because it has its own antiviral, antimicrobial properties in itself. Okay. So given the fact that we have this endocannabinoid system, that our own body produces its own endocannabinoids, okay, and then THC and CBD and all these things, they are phytocannabinoids, which means that they are cannabinoids that come from plants. All right. So they assist, but our body makes them already. And there are receptors. There's Cb1 receptors and Cb2 receptors, okay? So, I'm reading this book, Dr. O, she says that the Cb1 receptor agonists, okay, are the brain, the central nervous system, the spinal cord, the eye, the penis, the vagina, the ovaries, and the liver, okay? And THC, okay, is what mostly binds to the CB1 receptors, is the THC. So brain, central nervous system, spinal cord, eye, penis, vagina, ovaries, and liver, okay? And she even says right here, THC. Think it's best known, the best known cannabinoid in neuroprotection, okay? No, like I told you, it's neuroprotection and neurogenesis. It helps to protect your brain. And that could be why my dad, he's like really smart. Like, he's been a brilliant man all my life, and his friends too. That's why I was never convinced that weed makes you dumb. Even though I didn't smoke weed growing up. Like, I didn't start smoking weed till I was like in college. And even then, I didn't smoke it like I do now. But I was an athlete. I ran track. All the athletes I know smoke weed. All the basketball players, the football players, they all did, okay? Okay, so then the CB2 receptors, okay, the CB2 receptors, that you want to think the lymph, okay, immune system, thyroid, spleen, blood, and skin, okay? And, the CBD mostly binds to those. But actually, no. I think in my research I found that CBD doesn't bind to either one of those receptors, and THC binds to both, to CB1 and CB2 receptors. So it's kind of, the actual like technical science of it could be a little confusing. I've done videos in the past where I talked about that, and I can't always recall that, but I do have a lot of experience with just using it with myself and clients. And I'm going to tell you that when it comes to using it for sexual purpose, when it comes to using it for pain, that the THC oil is more potent. But looking at the research, it says that there's something called the Entourage Effect. And this is even true with food, with everything. It's true with toxins. Like usually when the Entourage Effect is a number of compounds working together to create a reaction. So when people get cancer, usually it's not from one thing. If a person has cancer-causing chemicals in the air because they have Glade plugins, okay, and they have these cancer-causing chemicals, they don't ever open the window, then they're eating a bunch of food with cancer-causing chemicals, then they're using cleaning products to clean their house with cancer-causing chemicals. They're just bathing in cancer-causing chemicals from a variety of sources. And when you put all those sources come together, it's the entourage effect, which means that they work together to be even worse, even more poisonous, or more medicinal. Like if I'm doing things, to get my immune system up, I don't just do one thing, like, I'm just going to take this one herb. No, it's a number of things, that they work together. It's called the entourage effect. So CBD and THC actually work well together. They can help each other. They can be complementary, okay? But the THC binds to the Cb1 and Cb2 receptors. All right. And so again, the immune system, and I'm sure some of you have seen some studies that talk about cannabis curing that C virus, that C19, but also other ones. It's helps to strengthen the immune system a lot. Okay. The other thing with CBD, okay, that she has listed here, okay, is that it is, what Dr. O has in this book as potential uses: muscle relaxant, reduces spasms, anxiety, and nausea. It increases appetite, pain reliever, and improves sleep. An antioxidant, bone stimulant, and anti-diabetic. Inhibits tumor cell growth and reduces organ rejection in transplants. It's also an anti-inflammatory. It prevents cardiovascular accident by reducing artery blockage that could lead to heart attack or stroke. But THC does a lot of the same things. Okay, THC also inhibits tumor cell growth. It also can relax the muscles and reduce spasms and nausea and all that, right? But what she has listed here for THC as potential uses is pain reliever, anti-nausea, like I said, muscle relaxant, increases appetite, relieves pressure due to glaucoma. So THC is actually very important for glaucoma, and THC is very neuroprotective, where I don't think CBD has that thing. But if you see, THC and CBD kind of have cross benefits, except that the THC actually binds to the receptors, so it's more powerful, okay? But if somebody had pain and they couldn't use the THC oil because maybe they get drug tested and whatever, then CBD oil will do, but it's just not as potent, okay? And of course, there's terpenes in the cannabis. There's a bunch of different things. I'll do a video again about terpenes and break that down. I just really, and I'm also doing another video about tinctures soon. Tinctures are very medicinal. My hairdresser in Chicago, bless her heart, when the pandemic happened and they said that the hairdressers and the barbers couldn't do hair anymore, she never stopped, okay? Thankfully, because I can't do my own hair. I'm not somebody that can go months and not get my hair done. Nope. And I'm not doing it myself. You see this? I didn't do this, and I'm not trying to do it. I'm going to leave it to her, because that's her specialty. But she got some tincture from me during that time, because I think her grandmother might have got C19, and I don't know, I didn't know that she had it, right? But she did get the tincture from me, because the tincture is even more medicinal, but it depends on what you're using it for. The tincture, goes under your tongue. You can also just put it in tea, because my friend who makes this, his mom, she's in her 90s. She never was a weed smoker or anything, but she puts a tincture in her tea every morning. And this woman never got COVID, okay? She's in her 90s in Chicago. Her daughter's a medical doctor, lives in the house. So her daughter was in the hospital all the time. Mom never got sick, okay? She puts a tincture in her tea every morning. But the real medicinal properties of the tincture, to really get it, you want to put it under your tongue. And the tincture that he makes is, he uses moonshine. This is a CBD tincture, okay? It also has a THC tincture. I don't have it right here in front of me, okay? I'll do another video about the tinctures. But even in here, one thing that she says about the tinctures is that it could be a better choice for individuals with liver disease, okay? And then the suppositories, which I'm working on creating with my friend, because the suppositories can be used vaginally or anally. Vaginally, women absorb medicine vaginally very, very easily. And so that can be used for sexual reasons, or pain during sex, or different issues that women might be dealing with gynecologically. But also it can be used for people who can't ingest medicine for, they can't ingest it orally because maybe they might throw it up or something. Then using suppositories, anal or vaginally, can be a solution to that. And what I'll read to you what Dr. O says about suppositories. She writes, in a suppository's route of administration, cannabinoids are inserted through the anal area. The onset of action can be as fast as 15 minutes and lasts up to 12 hours. Just like a tincture, just like a tincture, spray, and sublingual route of administration, suppositories do not pass through the liver. The route is potentially ideal for individuals who are unable to take an oral dosage from either nausea or vomiting, or an inability to swallow due to gastrointestinal disorders such as peptic ulcers or erosive esophagitis. Okay. So yeah. So how you use it depends on what you're using it for. Okay. Sometimes it can be used topically. Like I have a video where I talked about when I ripped my navel ring out of my navel on the pole. Super painful. I use it topically to get rid of the pain and the inflammation. Okay. And so a lot of people joke around about cannabis medicine like it's a joke, but it's really not a joke. Okay. It just depends on, like, if somebody's using it for their back, I wouldn't tell them to smoke it. I tell them to take the oil and put it in and ingest the oil. Like, smoking it is not going to help when you have really bad back pain. And I just sold this oil too to somebody in California who just had back surgery and was in excruciating pain. For some reason, the back things have been like the thing lately, okay? That has been coming up with older people and their back. But and I used it for my back when I got into the car accident, and it is what made me better. Okay, I was going to a chiropractor, I was going to acupuncturist. It was the cannabis oil that helped me heal, and it's not addictive, and it's something that you don't need forever because it actually helps you heal. When you take pharmaceuticals, it masks the pain and also stops your body from healing, and it's addictive. I was reading this oncologist, that's the doctor that deals with cancer, was saying how cannabis medicine is so important for people who have cancer and are going through chemo because of the fact that when somebody's going through chemo, they get put on all these other drugs, right, to counteract the side effects of the chemo. So they're getting put on anti-nausea medications. They're getting put on sleeping pills and all this stuff. Using cannabis medicine, they don't need the nausea medication. They don't need the sleeping pills. They don't need a lot of these other medications that's being given to them. Okay, so for me, I very much believe in holistic. And when I say holistic, okay, because a lot of people who say that they're holistic healers and then they'll be on some vegan shit, you can't be a holistic healer and cut out the animal queendom, okay, because there's very healing properties in certain animal fats and animal products, okay. And all indigenous people will tell you that. If you look at an herbalist from Africa, they're not a vegan, okay? If you look at an herbalist from Asia, they're not a vegan, okay? So these new age holistic people, okay, and a lot of them don't really understand not just the science, but the traditional methods. For me, I have a background in science, but I also study traditional ways of doing things. And when you look at the traditional methods, the science backs it up, okay? Because, first of all, a lot of these women in Jamaica, and there was a whole study, I forget the nurse's name. There was a white nurse from America who went to Jamaica and was studying these Rastafarian mothers. And a lot of them, they might have smoked it a little bit, but what they were more doing the most when they were pregnant was drinking teas, okay? And so then you get the THCA, which is an acid form, okay, of cannabis. And she went back for years and studied those kids. Those kids were like honor roll students. They didn't have any problems. They're actually very smart. And in here, Dr. O talks about THCA, also neural protection, okay? So if you make a tea out of it, you won't get any psychoactive properties, but it's still very good for your brain. And also, she wrote that prevents cancer cell growth, osteoporosis. It's an anti-inflammatory and antibacterial agent, okay? So whether you make a tea out of it or you just use the oil, it's going to do that, okay? And so, I mean, like, so to me, I remember when I was in college, I thought to myself, when I was studying, because not only, a lot of people are either a trainer or they're a nutritionist, right? But studying both of those things, you really understand, you have a fuller picture of how to heal the body and how the body works, okay? Because part of it is what you're doing physically. And whatever issues that you have, whether you have diabetes or you got heart disease or you got bad knees or you injured your back or you injured your shoulder, okay? What you do physically can help strengthen that, okay, and heal that, and it's essential, okay? But then also what you're consuming and what you're putting inside of you also helps to heal and helps the body to function. They both are equally important. I have expertise in both of those areas. So when I work with my clients, that's what I look at. And it doesn't matter what's going on with a person. I've worked with people with all kinds of backgrounds. When my dad's friend this morning told me that he had horrible spinal stenosis, that the doctors weren't helping him, that he didn't believe in Western medicine, but he was in so much pain. And this man is an important man. And I told you, once I get his pain away and I get his testimonial, I'll tell his story and I'll tell you who this man is, okay? He's somebody that a lot of you probably know, okay? Very important. He's done very important work since before we were born, because he's in his 70s. And he's still doing very important work. And he's in Harlem. He has to come to Chicago this weekend for some very important activism work, okay? And I'm like, no, man, you can't be traveling and you're in all this pain with your back. You're an important man doing important work. We need you to be well. So I changed my flight just so I can go to his part of Harlem and give him this, okay? And I know it's going to help him. So I just remember when I was in college and I was studying these things, I thought that I was so happy because I knew then, I was like 20 years old, and I'm like, the things that I'm learning, I can help my family and the people that I love, myself and my family, for the rest of our lives, okay? Because understanding, my dad is 80, my mom is about to be 73. I want them to live a long time. I want them to live to be 100, okay? So I teach my parents all kinds of things. My mom is very good at listening to me. My dad is getting better at it. But I'm on everything with them. Like when they go to the doctor, I know what's going on. They like FaceTime me, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, the things that I know, and, just having this level of knowledge and expertise, it is something that is priceless to me, okay? Because money and all of that, you can always make money, you can lose money, but having a long life and being able to function and be able to enjoy your life is, to me, worth more than anything, okay? That's number one to me. Money's second, Some people are so focused on their money, or some people are so focused on the spiritual aspect, and they're neglecting their body, their physical, and they die too young. Or they live a long time with all these health problems and pain, can't do this, can't do that, okay? Longevity is my number one priority. And not just, again, living long, but being non-functional or chronically sick or in pain. No. Living as long as possible and as functional as possible. So, I do work with clients. Anybody who's listening to this video, if you want to, do an evaluation with me, you want to work with me, just reach out to me, because I work with people in depth. But also, if you're interested in using and learning how you can use, cannabis for different ailments you have, I can do short calls about that too, just to give you a little bit of advice. So, I'm going to have my dad's friend who has, the spinal stenosis, take a bath with it, okay, and also ingest it. And, his friend, the woman, she did the same thing, and it has helped her tremendously, okay? So there's just so many things that it can be used for, and, I don't know what else to say. I know that I never use that hand sanitizer shit that's everywhere, okay? I don't take antibiotics. I don't take Advil or Tylenol or headache medicine. I don't care what happens to me. I have a natural method, a natural way of dealing with it, okay? I never got that C virus, okay? Never got it, okay? Neither did my parents, okay? And my parents did take the jab. I didn't take that. They took it, but they didn't have any negative effects, thank goodness. And nobody got sick, thank goodness, okay? But for me, I was already aware of how to strengthen my immune system. Way before that happened. That's something that I know about, and something I've always been about. And, I'm just going to say, I don't know what else to say. But to me, all the pharmaceuticals, not necessary. They cause more problems, okay? So if you are late to joining this live, go back and listen to it from the beginning, and you'll hear all the things that I was explaining. This book is written by a Nigerian pharmacist, okay? A Pharmacist's Guide to Cannabis, okay? Perspectives of a non-conformist clinician, all right? and she's a Nigerian pharmacist. And this is a good book if you just are just interested in cannabis medicine, just easy to the point, you know, not too much reading, not too much science. Then this is a good book you can get on Amazon. I plan on doing a Clubhouse talk with her soon as well. But, you know, people have been using cannabis medicine for generations, just thousands of years, just like other herbs, okay? And then the pharmaceutical industry tries to make their artificial version of these natural herbs, and they have side effects because they isolate the so-called active ingredient, and really the entourage effect is not there, which means that everything in the plant works together. Everything in the plant works together. This is the same thing with food. That's why I tell people, you don't want to consume low-fat milk and egg whites. No, you want to consume whole milk, whole eggs, you know. You want the yolk and the white. The white by itself can be toxic. Okay, it becomes a processed food when you remove the yolk. And in this book too, a few more points that she reads, she says that cannabinoids such as THC are said to have 20 times the anti-inflammatory properties of NSAIDs. NSAIDs are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. I was also addicted to that in college because I had bad shin splints. I ran track in college. I had bad shin splints, and I think they gave me that for that, and then I had surgery on my foot, right? And they gave me more NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And I didn't know I was addicted to it, but it caused me. I remember one day I was killed over in pain. It was like my sophomore year of college. I was like killed over in pain, and I go to the sports medicine doctor. He looks at my charts, and he's like, "Oh, you've been taking NSAIDs for this amount of time, and it can cause ulcers in your stomach and blah, 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 blah." Cannabinoids, such as THC, have 20 times the anti-inflammatory properties of NSAIDs. NSAIDs are drugs such as ibuprofen, naproxen, and aspirin. Okay, so even somebody like Sha'Carri Richardson, even though the rules in the Olympics, you can't use THC, which is like retarded, but you know, that's the rules. But sports medicine doctors will drug you up in a second with toxic drugs that are very toxic and harmful and not as healing in any kind of way as the THC and all of that, okay? And like I told you, all the athletes that I knew in college smoked weed, all of them. And even now, like the singers I know some known people, I'm not going to mention their names, male and female singers who are very well known and can sing very well, and they smoke weed, and it does not affect their ability to sing at all, okay? And THC is said to send cancerous cells into apoptosis. So apoptosis is when cells kill themselves. They commit suicide, okay? So that's what THC is known to do, all right? She writes that studies show that cannabinoids reduce the damage to the myelin sheath caused by inflammation, okay? The myelin sheath protects our nerves, all right? And she wrote, there's no evidence to support that an increase in lung cancer due to cannabis use, okay? Medical studies have shown that cannabis is a neuroprotectant with potential medical benefits for many disease states, such as multiple sclerosis, various types of pains, cancer, glaucoma, epilepsy, seizures, and among others. And scientists have shown that THC can promote growth of new brain cells using the process of neurogenesis. According to Dr. Zhang, most drugs of abuse suppress neurogenesis. Only marijuana promotes neurogenesis. Okay? And according to Sanjay Gupta, who's a neurosurgeon, who all of you probably know, anecdotal observation shows that sometimes marijuana is the only thing that works. Okay, there's just a few things out of this book. But I'm all about showing and proving. Can I talk about autism in another video? Because there's a lot to say about autism, a lot. I will do another video about autism. The thing I forgot I was going to say about my hairdresser, I don't know if I finished it. I was telling you that she used the tincture, the THC tincture. She's always telling people how it knocked out her C19. She always tells people about that. So the tincture is even more medicinal. And I remember I was going back and forth between New York and Chicago the whole time. And, you know, in March and April of 2020, when they were saying that everybody was dropping dead in New York and it was so bad, the highest rates in Manhattan were in the zip code that my parents live in. So I said, let me go to New York, because if anybody in my family gets sick, I'm going to take care of them. They're not going to the hospital, because that's when stuff went downhill for people. And I remember when I came back from New York, one of the trips, it was like the beginning of May, I was not feeling good. Like, I mean, I really was not feeling good. I don't know what was wrong with me. I don't know. Maybe it was C19. I don't know, because I never got tested. But I just know, like, I was like, and I had somebody who was coming to visit me. And so and I had the THC tincture, but I hadn't used it yet. My friend said, put it under your tongue. I did that. And 30 minutes later, I felt like a new person. And I'm not even exaggerating. Okay? So I felt like a new person. I felt horrible. So, like, when you really need the deep medicine, that you really want to get the tinctures. But again, like, depending on what you're using it for, depends on how you use it or what you need. So hopefully this, and I'm really seeing the benefit of this with aging people, okay? With people who are getting older and they're dealing with different ailments, whether it be arthritis, whether it be back problems. I mean, younger people got back problems too, but I'm saying back problems, you know, arthritis, certain neurodegenerative diseases, very, very important, okay? Very, very beneficial, way better than the pharmaceuticals that people are on, okay? And nobody has ever OD'd in the history of a life from anything from cannabis, but people OD from pharmaceuticals every damn day, okay? That's one of the reasons, like, I used to want it when I was in college. I thought for a short moment of getting into sports medicine. But one thing I learned is that sports medicine doctors, all they do is drug people up. I mean, I got drugged up by sports medicine doctors, and I'm like, I can't do that. I don't want it. It's not in me to do that. And I remember listening to a Clubhouse conversation where this ex-football player was talking to Dr. O, and he was asking her, I think he was worried about possibly getting CTE in the future, and he was asking her, like, I think, you know, he smoked cannabis every day and he was worried. And she said, because you smoke cannabis every day, then your brain will be good. I remember her telling him that. You won't get CTE. And then you learn that there's all these neuroprotective, neurogenesis properties. You know, Western medicine tells us we can't create more brain cells. And I know that to be wrong, okay? Because even physically, this is the reason why exercise is important. And not just any old exercise. But when you do physical movements, okay, and you put your brain in it, okay, your brain is involved. You're actually visualizing as you do physical movements. Your brain grows more nerves. You know, your central nervous system grows more nerves to those muscles. And that's how you get better control over those muscles, more feeling in those muscles. That's why working with the 90 eggs are good for women, because of that. But also when you strength train, then when you add some type of weight, okay, that further recruits muscle fibers. So understanding the whole central nervous system, you know, and the recruitment and recruiting them and training your central nervous system, you can grow more nerves and you can generate more cells. But Western medicine will tell you that's not possible, okay? So I'm just saying. This is the reason why I'm not a huge follower or a truster of Western medicine, unless it is some type of freak accident, okay? That's it. Not when it comes to true health and longevity and maintaining it. Okay, so I think you guys get the point. I'm going to end this video now. If you're interested in purchasing the oil, what did I say? That I was giving a $25 discount on the oil. For those of you who are watching the video, just message me. And yeah, have a great day, people. Thank you for listening. If you learned something, share it. Check out my other videos where I'm talking about cannabis medicine, and follow me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram, and have a good day. Bye.